Okay, so you recall yesterday we did quick run round the room here on your initial thoughts to exposure poem. What I'd like you to do now is just reacquaint yourself with the poem, and I want you just to pick out one word, one image, one phrase from the poem that you think, wow, that is great. That's poetry to me. That sums up what poetry is in a nutshell. So you're just really engaging with the set. It might be the imagery that's used. It might be the sound of the language. You know, that sort of sense of onomatopoeia. It might be the way that sort of two words have been put together to create an image in your mind, or something else. Okay, so it is what just come up to 10 to now. If I give everybody, just so that you've got time to do that, I'll give you to 12 to do that. So you go through, select the line, the image that you want, and also put your thoughts beside it, why you've selected that, why it means so much to you. Okay, so 10 minutes to complete that little task. Off you go.
Are we writing it in the chat box when we've got one, or are we just saying it after?
I don't know. I've got mine.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to mute there so I didn't disturb you. Yeah, you can do that because I see that. Yeah, because all of us just done that. If you want to do it that way, that is fine. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we can do that. Thank you, and I can see them as they come in. Excellent. Well, that's 2. That's all right. You don't have to apologise, Charlotte. Yeah, 2 for the Forgotten Dreams. Yeah. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, I like that too. Oh, thanks you. And Clem, yeah, thank you. Some really good responses coming through here. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really good. Right, let's begin to, I think that's everybody now, let's begin to discuss these. Excellent comments that you've picked out here.
Wait,
Yeah, on you go, Oliver. Say it again.
random question.
Yeah.
This isn't the full poem, is it?
Have I not printed up the second page as well? Oh, silly me.
No, I was just wondering because I was like looking because it seemed very abrupt at the ending, so I was looking online.
No, I think no, I've got a funny feeling. Hang on, double check. I think that is it. No, I think that is it. You made me doubt myself for a minute there.
Like 2 paragraphs, 2 stanzas missing.
Hang on. Yeah, because I just printed up from the anthology, which you've all got, and it might be that I missed a page off. These things do happen.
Yeah, on mine it goes to like 3 more stanzas.
Ah, right, that's it. So I've not popped in the second yet. That's why I'm probably not finding some of the looking through, not finding some of the quotes that I think. I'll make sure it goes on for the next lesson. Sorry, but we've got plenty that's here that we can actually begin to discuss and explore here. Yeah, my apologies for that. So, Jess, if I could start with you first, because you've picked out a line that I think is really good as well. And you picked out that line, but nothing happens. Why did that make such an impact on you?
Because it was repeated so heavily throughout the poem.
Yeah, and what's the effect of that repetition, do you think?
There's a constant thought.
Yeah, you've got that constant of fear here as well. Anybody else? Anybody else? How do you react to that? But nothing happens.
It's almost like it's painful, like waiting because they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. That sort of boredom. Yeah. Good.
You could say it's anticlimactic.
Oh, gosh, say that again, Penny Johnson. Very good. What made you think of that?
Because they're like waiting, but nothing happens, I guess. So yeah. It's
Yeah.
like build up to nothing.
Yeah, isn't it? And is that classic, anticlimactic effect? Because obviously, in these sort of situations, isn't it? You're kind of pitching yourself up for the kind of inevitable to happen, for something to sort of, of moment to happen, and it's that sort of pitching himself up for it, and it's nothing, and it's, you imagine the kind of stress of going through that. But yeah, so we've got that. Nothing happens. It's boredom. It's anticlimactic. It's stressful. Also, it is just. Oops. It's that repetitive nature of the event as well, isn't it? It's a continuous cycle that they're kind of locked into. Good. And then I forget who was it that picked out what are we doing here? Was that you, Clem?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you want to take us through why you selected what are we doing here?
Well, it kind of just stands out because like when they were in the war, like fighting in a war and stuff, they were like giving this sense of false hope.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then when they get there, it's completely opposite to what they expected. So it's like just overall confusion on what they're doing, why are they there? Yeah.
That's it. Really good. And so is this sort of, this sense of questioning, isn't it? And it's that sort of really big question, isn't it? It's sort of quite literally, it's life or death question. And if I could just stay with you for a moment, then Clem, the fact that they're questioning themselves, how would that tie into this poem reflecting maybe conflict? What sort of conflict would that question help you to explore?
They both don't know what they're fighting for.
Right, so they don't know what they're fighting for. And again, think of the types of conflict that you can have. You can have that sort of physical conflict. And what other type of conflict could you have?
Emotional.
You got emotion, yeah. So you got emotional conflict, yeah. And what do we call it when somebody might be full of well, they're trying to decide to do one thing or the other. What type of conflict is that?
I don't know.
Right, I'm going to give you a 50-50 option. Is it an external conflict or an internal conflict?
internal.
It is indeed, isn't it? Yeah. You know, and it's almost like that battle for the soul and the mind. Yeah. Yeah. We've got that's taken place there. Yeah. Very good. Now the back. I think Charlotte and Oliver, you both picked on the back on Forgotten Dreams. What was it that you found so intriguing that interested you about that line? Go to Oliver first, and then to Charlotte.
Just because it was almost as if they'd like just given up on all their dreams. Just don't. They're basically just accepting their fate that they're never gonna live the life that they wanted to.
Okay. Yeah. Good. 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 Charlotte, do you want to add anything to that?
I said. Read what I said. I said it's like they've forgotten what they aimed for in life, and they're just going
good.
for whatever they get given.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're willing not to. They're not even willing to try for what they want. They're just happy with whatever they get handed on the plate.
Yeah. Very good. I mean, again, and it's almost that idea that you know that the war, that the conflict is brutally, sort of, you know, broken them down. Yeah. Yeah. So they have literally given up there. Yeah. Very good. Now we have the less deadly in air. Who was it that picked out the less deadly than air quote again? So I don't have to flick back to my chat.
I think it was me.
Ah, right. I would hope you'd know it was you, Philip, if it was your quote.
Yeah.
Why did you choose that, Philippa?
I thought it kind of showed their boredom in a way, because they've been sat there so long, they've become cold, and
Yeah.
they're no longer nervous about war.
Good, like that. Again, it's something else that reflects, yeah, that this is having to deal with it, the boredom of waiting around. Yes, good. Because in a way, what are these soldiers all kind of just waiting for?
To die.
Yeah, isn't it? It is that kind of thing. Is it? You know, it's almost that idea, isn't it? Is this the day? You just imagine that they're stuck in those trenches and waking up each morning, sort of thing. You know, and it's that thought that might go through their brains. You know, is this the day I die? That sort of thing. Really sort of powerful. And Wilfred Owen is very good at capturing that and reflecting that sort of turmoil that is going on within them. Now, if we just begin to sort of pick our way through it, there's some techniques that he is using here that are really good. Now, I mean, straight away, you know, that opening sort of image, our brains ache, that takes us into the sense of what type of agony are these men going through?
Mental.
Yeah, it's his mental turmoil that they're going through here, isn't it? If we look at this, so. And so with that sort of sense of mental turmoil, good. And you know, now what sort of, how would we define that nowadays? Didn't have a name then, but what would we describe this as? You know, if they've got mental turmoil in relation to war.
PTSD.
Yeah, this is your kind of classic PTSD, isn't it? Symptoms. And again, that takes us, that's sort of a, you know, oops. You know, in this anthology of poems that we've looked at, it does find an echo again. It's what the soldier is suffering from and remains. Remember, he's the one that's talking about the, you know, the sort of I think it's either Afghanistan or Iraq, isn't it? Where the bomb goes off, sort of thing, and it's all, he lives through that trauma again of seeing what's happened there. And so we're getting that sort of connection across the ages there with these two poems. And then it carries on there in this opening. We've got the merciless east winds that knife us. Now, what do you notice about that image there? The winds that knife us. What do you think that Wilfred Owen is beginning to suggest to the reader there? If I could ask you, John, what you think with the image of the winds that knife us.
Can you say that again, sir?
Yeah, what's going on in that image there? The winds that knife us. Can you see any particular technique being used by Wilfred Owen there?
Could you say a metaphor?
It is most definitely a metaphor. Anything else you think, John?
Well, could it be talking, because obviously it's a World War I poem, and things like mustard the gas was used regularly. Could there be something talking about that? I don't know.
Not so much that. I mean, stick with it, right? So you got the metaphorical image, yeah. If I were to say to you, can a wind knife you?
Say that again, sir.
Can the wind knife you, stab you?
Not directly.
Not directly. So if the wind has been given that capacity to do something that normally a human would do, it is what technique? You give something that's non-human a human characteristic. What is that, John? It's a P word, John. It's a P word.
I don't know.
Okay, anybody else want to jump in and help out?
Personification.
Yeah, isn't it? It's the personification of the wind. And here we're seeing it, isn't it? By doing that, it's that idea that the elements, the very elements themselves, it's the wind, it's nature. It's almost like that is the enemy too, rather than the physical enemy that they're facing across no man's land. So we've got that sort of power. And again, he does this again and again. Then we have, you know, and again, it's other really powerful images in this opening verse here as well. We've got the drooping flares. Oops. Right, if you pop back onto your chat function, I'm going to get a response to that one with the drooping flares. Okay, just come down from that for a sec. Whoops. Adjust that down. So what I want to get your reaction to and your answers to is that what image is created in your mind with the image drooping flares here. What does it symbolise to you? Okay, not top you, to you that should be. Okay, pop in your answer now with the drooping flares. What do you think it could be an image of? And with this, I think you really need to kind of visualize, if you think about it, think about the backdrop of it, of what's going on. Oh, like that, Oliver. Yeah. Lighten things up, and yeah, again, and again, think about the dazzlingness initially of that flare light, flare lights. I think is that harsh light that's shown brilliantly white and then descending into the darkness. Yeah, good. Yeah, good. And that sense of that harsh light as well, then going into darkness. Oh, good, Clem. Yep, the flare's usually red, so it can symbolise the death around them. Yep, very good. Yes, good responses coming through. Thank you. Keep them coming. Yeah, good. The flash of the flare's hue resembling gunfire as well. That's sporadic. Yes, like it. Oh, I like that too. Yeah, John. Normally you send up the distress flare, that sort of idea. Trench warfare, it isn't. Yeah, and it's kind of leaving you again, like the title, exposed. You know, that light brutally defines where you are, so you can get hit by the shells from your enemy, that sort of thing. Very good points coming through there. Like that. Good, good, good. Back to the page. Yeah. Right. So yeah. Now, with that, obviously, a technique's being used straight away. We can see, so it's like dripping flares. So what's the technique, please, everybody? 1, 2, 3. It's like dripping flare. Oh, no, it's low dripping flares. Sorry, my mistake. I thought it had been a like, so it won't be. There is one of these later on. But the dripping flares, sort of putting all those ideas in together. Oh, strange spellings from me going on there. Right, so that's there. Oops. So we've got that disorientation symbolising death, and again we think about it, it's a sort of dying light with that, the dripping flares. So we've got all of that going on and taking place. Yeah, good. And again, it all adds to this confusion that is being built up. Now, just as we had in the opening verse where personification was used with the winds that knife, again, we're seeing more of that similar personification in the second verse there. We've got the mad gusts tugging on the wire. So again, more of that. It's almost as if, isn't it, that the wind is alive. It, again, taking us back to that sense that it is that's the enemy as much as the other soldiers across the field, sort of thing. And so we're getting this idea of a conflict between man and nature as well at the same time in this warfare. Then we have the similes, which my eye got caught to as well, the twitching agonies of men amongst its brambles. And again, you could think of it with that, the men caught amongst the brambles. If you think of a bramble bush, yeah, and think of the thorns on a bramble, what could that almost be replicating on the battlefield? And if I ask that question to, I'm going to ask that question to Penny. If you think about your bramble bush and the thick thorns that are on that, what could that be likened to on the battlefield?
What's it called? Like the barbed wire stuff.
Yeah, exactly so, isn't it? And so we're getting that sort of blending of nature and the man-made sort of barbed wire that's there as well. And we have these men impaled on the barbed wire. But again, for some reason, Wilfred Owen creates this link and this image back to nature. So it's that idea about one train of thought sparking off another here that Wilfred Owen's kind of exploring in this poem. He sees, it's the vision, it's the memory of the men caught on the barbed wire, just limp there, and it makes him think of like an animal trapped and snared and thick sort of bramble bushes here. And so again, I say that sort of linking of the gruesomeness of war to nature, and two things that we wouldn't normally put together. But again, Wilfred Owen very often does this within his poetry. I think it was Oliver yesterday that sort of picked up on the sort of the brutality, the ugliness of the language that Wilfred Owen uses at times within his poetry when creating these sort of powerful images for us. And it shows that, in a way, poetry doesn't have to be, we might have this concept in the mind of, poetry is full of, wonderful imagery, lovely language, that sort of thing. Wilfred Owen shows that that doesn't need to be the case for something to be poetic and powerful. Okay, and this sort of idea carries on in the next verse as well. We have here, the poignant misery of dawn begins to grow. We know only war lasts. And again, that sort of ties in with those sort of quotes that you've picked out. What are we doing here and nothing happens? It's that idea that war just seems to go on forever and ever and ever. So that's a sense of boredom. And it carries on, rain soaks, clouds sag stormy, and then dawn massing in the east, her melancholy army. I think that is such a wonderful line of poetry there. Now, I'd like you to respond to that line of poetry again, please, for me in the chat function. Whoops. What does that line say to you? Okay. Boop. So we've got that. And I want you to sort of focus there. You know, that image. You know, it's the army being got together, and it's defined as that sort of melancholy army. Think about his choice of language there. Why do you think that Wilfred Owen might have used that word melancholy rather than anything else? What does that say to you? What does that, you know, how do you respond to it? Yes, like that. I like the question posed at the end there, Clem, as well. Yes. Yeah, isn't it that melancholy? It is that idea of being full of sadness, nothing, you know, for them to achieve good. Not want to be there, miserable, yeah. Melancholy isn't just sadness, it's deep, yeah. You know, negative thoughts, yeah. Army's lost hope from Penny, yeah. Yeah, it's that idea, yeah, that sort of horrible realization that it's all pointless, nothing's coming to him, yeah. Yeah, leaving, knowing they haven't achieved anything good, thank you. Hugh, thank you, they know they're going to die, yeah. And it's gloomy 24/7, yes. Brilliant, really good, really good. Okay, just waiting for the last few that are still being typed up there. I can see coming through. Very good, John. Yeah, an army without hope. Oh, demoralised to utter dejection. Yes, very good responses. Very good. Excellent. Right, let's just get this back up here. Yeah. Now, if I do that, Whoa, that's a bit big. Ha! Okay, so just getting those ideas of yours together. Now, the Romantic poets, and don't be fooled by the name, they didn't all write about romantic poetry, as in love poems, that sort of thing. It was the Romantic poets were from the 19th century, sort of early 19th century, sort of around about 1832 or so to the 1860, and their big idea was about mankind getting back in touch with nature, sort of communing with nature again. And whenever they used melancholy, it was always to do with this idea about a state of mind that they felt that they were in, you know, that they were detached from nature, they were detached from that sort of sense of being at one with nature, and so that sort of happiness is what they were looking for, and that is what you've all begun to sort of tap into here as well. You've seen that, and it is that, as you say, is this utter hopelessness, dejection, the pointless nature of what they're doing, and as both Hugh and John were sort of saying here, this is a sense of an army that is totally and utterly demoralised. And I want you to think about as well, in connection, obviously we looked at, you know, the Charge the Light Brigade. You know, these two poems are a million miles apart. You could not get more different. And something that we'll talk about a little bit later, not in today's lesson though, is, you know, how do you think that two poets can come to such opposing ideas, opposing points of view in connection to, you know, human conflict? And the issue, I suppose, of the power of patriotism, because both poems are addressing that topic of patriotism, but from very different angles, from very different points of view. Okay, so we have Dawn massing in the east, her melancholy army. So if Dawn is doing that, what technique has been used once again by Wilfred Owen there? If Dawn is getting her troops together, Dawn as in, yeah, again, that's it. Well, thank you, Oliver. I think it's in it. Yeah, personification yet again, isn't it? So again, it's that element of nature, and again, it's almost just as the wind at the beginning is seen as the enemy, isn't it? Here we have the dawn of a new day, and normally we associate dawn, the beginning of a new day, with new hope, whatever. But here we see for them, another dawn just brings more of this relentless, unremitting sense of melancholy, gloom. Yeah. And then we have the attacks once more on the shivering ranks of grey. Right, now this is going to be my, I think, probably the final question I get to ask you in this lesson today. Once again, responding to an image. Whoops. So please let me know, that shivering ranks of grey, what are you thinking about in relation to that image? How do you react to that image? What ideas does it spark off? Rocky, thank you. Other harsh realities of winter, bad, cold weather, makes everything worse. Yeah, grey from the illness and the conditions. Ah, very good, Hugh, because they are frightened. Yeah, like that, like that. That's good. Ooh. Oh, I like that. You've added on to it there. The colour being drained from them. Very good. Very good. Yes, good. Like that. Almost dead. Yes, Philip, I see. I like how we're building on to each other's ideas here. Yep, and I popped in there, think of grey maybe signifying a shade, a human shade. And that begins to take us into that territory that Philip is thinking about here, the sense of being almost dead, neither one thing or another. Endless. Oh, good. Thank you, Penny. Yeah. Clem. Oh, good. Colour usually representing joy and happiness, but here everything is grey. It is ill. Half alive, some hue. Yes. Could we even say maybe a little bit ghost-like potentially? Oh yeah, Penny, the grey of their uniforms. Yeah, and it can be just caked in that kind of mud, that grime from the battlefield. And maybe, again, I'm just popping in there as well, maybe we can think about lost souls. Yeah, Hugh, good. It's the black and white. Now it can symbolise the difference between life and death. And yeah, maybe that sense that they're getting trapped in between times. Yeah, says, yeah, thank you, Oliver. The old films, yes. Nothing is ever too far-fetched, all that. You should know that by now in English. We put our ideas out there and we throw them up and we shake them together and we blend them together and see what we come up with. This is good. Excellent. Oh, yeah, and there we have, yes, the pathetic fallacy. Thank you very much, Penny. Anticlimactic today and pathetic fallacy, well done. Grey from the smoke, yeah, the battlefield smoke as well, Hugh. No personal features, John, yes. Rapid fire, they're coming in now, just like machine gun fire here on the battlefield. Very, very good. Now, I have to say, I'm really pleased that we started using this chat function because, again, it's just bringing out more levels of understanding from you, and you're just reacting to it, and you're giving me your thoughts. And then what's great there is they're all coming in rapid fire. You're seeing things that were sparking off thoughts from you again. You're all adding to it. This is very good. And just think how strong a reaction you're providing now to the poems. You're on a personal level, you're all doing that with everything you're popping into the chat. So this is really good. Excellent work. And another very good lesson, year 11, I have to say. Right, so that almost, that's bringing us to the end of the lesson for today, sort of thing. I'll make sure that I pop on the second part of this poem so it's there complete for tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to try and think, because I know I've got a lesson first thing in the morning. We've been working really well this week. Want to end the week in a high, so we'll probably do half of the lesson maybe on this, and then we might have a little kind of quiz or whatever, or something that's a little bit more interactive again for us all, just to round the week off tomorrow. Okay. But, I am really pleased with what you've been producing here on these poems, because there's more and more of your own personal thoughts coming into this. And hopefully you too are beginning to gain more and more confidence with accessing poetry, dealing with poetry. It's taking some of that mystique away from you. Really good work all round. Well done. So I think you've earned your lunch now. Okay. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Lesson 1.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Really good one.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.